We come to this place for monsters. We come to horror movies to scream, to cringe, to scare. Because we need that. All of us.
That hair-raising feeling we get when the lights begin to dim. And we are taken somewhere we've never been before. Not just entertained, but somehow terrorized together.
Dazzling guts on a huge silver screen. Stabs that I can feel.
Somehow, murder feels so good in a place like this.
Our final girls feel like the best parts of us, and stories feel disturbing and powerful. Because here they are.
In horror we trust.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Well, hello everybody.
Welcome back.
Just yesterday, Carissa and Adam and I went and saw Barbarian.
Ow! We had the very privilege of seeing this film in theaters.
Not just theaters, but Dolby Cinema.
I was so surprised and so excited that it was in Dolby because I just, it's not like a big blockbuster horror. It's just kind of under the, well, not under the radar, but just like, wow.
I do have to say, if you have the ability to see it in Dolby or IMAX, do yourself a favor because it's a very different experience, and I think it heightened everything horror about this film.
Just gripping.
Yeah. Well,
Shuddering.
Without further ado, we'll kind of give you a little synopsis of what Barbarian is about. So Barbarian is about a young woman who discovers that the rental home she has booked has already been occupied by a stranger. Against her better judgment, she decides to spend the night, but soon discovers there's a lot more to fear than just an unexpected house guest. Barbarian was released September 9th, which is today, but we got a little early sneak peek.
Boom, boom.
Directed by Zach Cregger.
Yes.
Who's not really known for his works in horror.
No.
He's done a couple other things.
He's actually a comedic director. He's one of the founders of the sketch comedy group The Whitest Kids You Know, which I used to watch when I was younger, and I really liked it. Really cool to see this horror directorial debut from him, and by golly, what a great job.
Yes.
So I guess you can tell we loved it.
Yeah. So we are going to discuss the trailer and kind of our thoughts on that and how it may have differed from our expectations or kind of went with our expectations with this film. But before we get started, we are just going to put out a major spoiler warning. We're gonna talk in depth, and I highly encourage you to see this movie before you listen to this episode because the film is great and it just will not have the same effect if you figure out what's going on past what you're seeing in the trailer.
Try not to let a lot of media influence you before seeing it.
Yeah, just go in cold. Yeah. Don't read anything. Don't listen to anything. Just go see it if you had any interest to seeing it in the first place.
Yeah, what did you think seeing the trailer? Which was a great trailer.
Yes.
Off the bat, it highly interested us. We were just stoked to see it, especially seeing our boy Justin Long back in action in the horror fucking world.
Yes, it's been a long time. I want to say the last film he did was Tusk.
I know. I think so. Maybe I haven't seen something, but
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in just the horror kind of realm, I think Tusk was a lot. Yeah, for sure.
I think so.
Anyways, it was amazing seeing Justin Long again, even if it was just a little sneak peek in the trailer.
Just a glimpse.
A glimpse.
Very quick flash of Justin. Yes. Terror.
Yeah, as the trailer as a whole goes, I think it was very interesting to have a trailer be so short and be so kind of just not to the point at all.
Yeah, I you just can't tell what the fuck is happening. But
you
it's
know
so
it's scary.
effective. Yeah, it's so effective. It just pulled me in. I was like, what is it?
Yeah.
I need to know what this is. It could have been so many things watching, like, from the trailer.
And what I love was that was an intentional decision by Zach Cregger to just have one trailer out.
Oh.
He didn't want a whole bunch of other kind of trailers giving away too much of the plot. So I think there was one trailer out and there was one very small clip of the film out that, again, did not give anything away. You couldn't tell what the movie was about.
Beautiful.
And it was kind of left to your assumptions of what this was about.
Like, going into breaking down the trailer, I just didn't know. I was like, it could be a monster, it could be a serial killer, it could be like a cult. There are so many different, like, I don't know if you call them clues or just kind of little directions that they give, or it just leaves it open to in the trailer, where I was like, what is this?
I know when I was watching the trailer, I was like, okay, I don't know what this is about. I feel like it's about a serial killer, but I was getting the culty vibes as well, but I was like, I'm here for it. This looks terrifying. Yeah. And I loved not knowing what, because I feel like nowadays trailers kind of lay out the movie in front of you, and then when you go see them, it's like, okay, like what, why?
Yeah, I wish I didn't see that in the trailer,
Yeah.
because I was expecting it. I was like,
So it's pretty cool. None of the scares were really in the trailer too much. No. And like, a lot of it is left for you to see in theaters.
Yeah. So with the trailer, it starts off with her, arriving in the neighborhood, arriving at the door. And it's like, why is the neighborhood so dark and so quiet? It's raining.
So dark.
I was like, I guess it's raining. No one's out. But it's like pitch black behind her. Yeah. The house is the only thing lit. And then there's her sleeping. Obviously it introduces Bill Skarsgård and everything. And then when she's sleeping, doors open. She wakes up, doors open. You hear footsteps running past. I was like, ooh. And then you start seeing the flashes of the underground system. And that was like, okay, man-made. So I was like, maybe not monster. There's the room. They show the room with a video camera and the bed in it. So I think we both agree. We're like, okay, well, definitely some type of captivity thing going on. Maybe serial killer-ish. Or I still was holding out for maybe cult. Like, I don't know. so many options. Then there's a flash of someone popping in a VHS tape into a TV, and the title read gas station, and then you couldn't see the rest of the title. And so I was like, okay, all right. And then you hear a voiceover, which I assumed was from the VHS tape. And the voice said, "This process might seem overwhelming, but with a little practice, it can soon become a pleasurable experience. This is perfectly natural."
I'm just going to say that Carissa said that in the perfect tone, because the VHS sounded exactly like that. Like the voiceover. It was perfect.
That was creepy. And that voice was what made me think, like, maybe cult? Like, that are holding people captive and trying, I don't know, sacrifice whatever. I don't know. But just still adding to the, I don't know, eerie. I just still was like, what the fuck? What is happening? And then you see a TV screen that shows, like, it just showed a woman, and it looked like older footage. Don't know what's going on still. And then you see someone picking up a yellow dress in a room, one of the underground rooms. So very cryptic, very quick flashes where you just get the impression that people are being held captive. And then you see the characters' reactions, different reactions, and running in the tunnels, and just kind of chaos and utter horror by them. So I was super on board. But yeah, Justin Long, because they start with, the main girl, Tess Marshall, played by Georgina Campbell, and Bill Skarsgård's character as Keith. And so you kind of think it's just them two. So when Justin Long pops in, they don't even show in the trailer, like, how he gets there. He's just there. So I'm just like, who and why?
I will say, when I first watched the trailer, I was so intrigued and my eyes were scanning everywhere all at once that I didn't recognize that it was initially Justin Long. I thought it was Keith in that just quick glimpse. Yeah. And then after rewatching the trailer a few times, I was like, oh wait, no, that's Justin Long. Yeah. And I was like, I knew I recognized that voice.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But
so excited.
Yeah, the trailer was very interesting. Again, I feel like I got kind of the same vibe going on where I was like, okay, tunnel, this is probably a serial killer doing some fucked up shit. And then I was like, the tape was like immediately right after that, the VHS is put into the television. And I kept trying to stop and pause the trailer to read what the VHS tape had said. But it would just go too quickly. And I was like, you know what? No. I'm gonna just go with it and we'll see what happens when we see the movie. Yeah. But yeah, very different expectations of what like we thought, or at least what we initially may have thought the movie was going to be about. Right. And I kept saying this to Carissa. The movie was what I expected, but it also wasn't what I expected.
Yeah, which I think is perfectly put. Yeah. Once you see it.
I think it'll make sense to you.
Yeah. And how the trailer's last shot is on the house and how it looks like a perfect little...
Yeah, cookie cutter kind of...
Americana. Yeah. house. And then you just know, like, oh, there's some dark shit going on underneath. There. Yeah. Or whatever. Just made it all the more mysterious.
Yeah, the trailer was very, very effective, I think. Do you think that coming from the producers that have made such prolific films like It and The Ring and The Grudge played any part in you really wanting to check this film out? Or were you just kind of sold on the trailer itself?
I was sold on the trailer itself. Yeah. I was just like, but like the trailer, I was like, fuck yeah.
I will agree. Like the trailer had me sold. I was like, I want to know what this movie's about. Yes. But then after seeing those title cards come in with like producer of Grudge, producer of The Ring, like my mind immediately went to a place where I'm like, I remember how scary these movies were for me when I was younger, and if they have any sort of influence in this realm of horror like those films had, like I'm even more gung-ho to check out what this is about. And yeah, I just thought that was a very interesting kind of ploy to get people like really amped.
Yeah, very true. I can see that. And then just looking at the title, Barbarian, very, I don't know. What did you think when you read,
okay,
it was called Barbarian?
I will tell you what I thought, and then I'll tell you do you want me to tell you what I think, like, after viewing the movie, what I think the title is about?
Sure.
Okay. So when I thought initially, I had no fucking idea. I was like, oh, is it because the serial killer is going to be barbaric? Like, right. I had no idea because the trailer, again, doesn't give away much. So I wanted to know what the barbarian was in this, like, film.
It seems so specific.
Yeah.
And, I told Christine this, but I was like, when you, at least for me, when I read Barbarian, I'm a D&D player, and my character is a barbarian. I just think of Conan the Barbarian, fighter, brute.
Yeah.
But also there's obviously barbaric.
Which is really interesting, because usually film titles tie into the movie in one way or another. Yeah. Do you feel like the title was pretty clear for you after watching the film?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes. Like, there's just the specific moment where it's basically the reveal.
Yeah.
And then right when that happened, I was like, that's why.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that
makes sense.
Not only did it make sense in that part with the reveal and the things that happen to these people, but I think the title stems from the point of view of Tess. So Tess is kind of surrounded by all these men in the movie. Yeah. And in my opinion, every man that she encounters in this film is a barbarian. They're barbaric. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's kind of where the title comes from.
Or at least because Bill Skarsgård,
well,
he gives off.
Yes,
it's implied
he's
that
seen
he
as
will
a
be.
threat.
Yes.
Because every little thing he does throughout the movie could be harmless, but from a woman's perspective is seen as a threat. Every single thing that he does.
They build that up so well.
Yes.
Literally everything he does. Everything he says. Yeah. You're like...
Red flags are just going off everywhere. Absolutely. You're like, get the fuck out of there. Get in your car and leave.
And for the most part, she is playing it smart. Yeah. And she is listening to herself and her instincts. Yeah. She does start to give in a little bit when he, like... starts connecting with her, but we were still like, okay, he's manipulating her. He knows information about her, and he's just setting this up.
I agree with that completely. And I think that's kind of why I think he may be deemed as barbaric in, like, in her view, because she doesn't know anything about this guy. He's big and he's kind of crude at times, and he's a threat. She doesn't know who he is. Yeah. And then, as we find out later, I mean, Justin Long is a barbarian. He's barbaric. He's a fucking tool. Yeah. And then, even the man that they find in the basement, he is legitimate. He's the ultimate barbarian of the film. Yes. Yeah. And so, I thought that was very interesting. You know, come to think of it, I feel like this is what I wanted out of the movie Men.
Yeah, I know.
This is kind of the version I would have liked to have seen that they were kind of getting at, but this feels more realistic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It makes it more impactful. Absolutely. Like, really drives it home.
Absolutely.
Whereas that one was definitely more
it was artsy.
Yeah. You know. More subtle on getting to that.
Yeah. It took a lot of liberty and the artistic kind of measures, but I think at the core of it, this was kind of the message that they were getting out, that, like, men are threatening in a woman's world.
Yeah. And not only thematically is it that, like, impactful to me and really punches it in, but just technically, just the craft of the whole film was just what I wanted out of a horror film just lately. I mean, it's kind of the same effect I got from X, where it's just like, holy shit.
The shots in this movie were so kind of awkward, but, like, in a brilliant kind of way.
And a lot of switches in the film work. Because there's different sections. It's almost like there's three short films.
Three acts.
Three acts, that, they're like three separate threads that do start weaving together. Yeah. But
they're harshly cut.
Yes. Oh my god, the cuts. And it's just so well. And you would think that a cut like that so abruptly would throw you off, take you out or whatever. But I thought it was like, we said, provided great relief.
Yes.
I guess, okay, we already said spoiler, but let's just get to the reveal. Yeah. Because that's the first abrupt cut.
Yes. So the reveal with Bill Skarsgård's character is they're both trapped. We'll get into the details on it later, but they're both trapped in the basement.
Yeah, so she finds him down in the tunnels. Yeah. And then he looks terrified and...
Oh yeah, because she went looking for him. Yeah, that's right.
And she saw the room, and that's what she was terrified of. So she was like, we need to get the fuck out of here and go back the way we came.
He was saying he saw a person.
Yeah, that way, the way she came from. So he was like, no, we can't go that way. And he's trying to pull her deeper into the tunnels.
And she doesn't want to go deeper into the tunnels. And so they're kind of arguing back and forth because she's like, no, this is the route to get out. Yeah.
And which still made us think up to the last second that
he was trying to kill her.
Yeah, trying to get her in there.
And then out of nowhere.
Oh my god.
The most frightening thing. My brain didn't even register what this thing was.
I know.
I had the whole idea of The Ring and The Grudge kind of sitting in the back of my mind, and this long, like, gangly, tall thing runs up out of the pitch darkness.
Yeah, behind him.
Behind Bill's character. And grabs his head and just starts smashing it viciously into the wall. And we're just all trying to comprehend what the hell is happening in this moment.
It's just a close-up of his head being smashed
and obliterated.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, smack! Jump cut to a completely...
Well, it like does the full shot of its face, and it like roars, and it's this disfigured...
Oh, God.
Humanoid I know. This like disfigured humanoid creature that looks kind of Hills Have Eyes-esque, just roaring at Tess, and Tess is just in shock. And then the
smash cut to Justin Long.
Get this.
Singing in his car driving down a scenic beach highway.
Like Pacific Coast Highway. Like, just singing so carefree.
Top down, just singing along.
And it was the funniest shit. Like, how he was singing along and the specific song it was.
I love that Justin Long can also act his ass off in a comedic performance, which I think added to that scene.
Yeah. I was just like, this is our Justin Long.
Yeah.
I missed him so much.
And it went from just pure horror to like relaxed and laughing and being like, oh wait, danger's gone. And just kind of like settling back down and like, you're not anxious anymore, you're not nervous, and you're just watching and seeing what happens with Justin Long's character now that he's been introduced.
Yeah, which like on paper, you kind of would think that that would be a bit off or just wouldn't work. Like it'll take you out of it. It worked completely. Like I was like, oh, okay.
It was, I think, the best way to offer relief from that scene. I don't know if it was done any differently, if it would have been as effective.
I know. And while I was thinking like, okay, well, what's happening back there? Yeah. But I was still like very interested, like, why did they cut to him? And like, okay, what's going on here?
The first time we've seen Justin Long's character in that whole start to the movie. Yeah. Like, we have not heard of him. We had not been introduced to him. Nothing. So it was just kind of, it wrapped you back into the story being like, okay, well, what is Justin Long's character doing right now? That was a very, very interesting kind of part. And they did it yet again, one more time, towards the third act.
Yes.
Which was really, really neat. It wasn't so jarring, but they did cut that way.
Yes.
To the end of the film.
Yeah, and I guess before we kind of get into the specifically Justin Long's characters and maybe the characters in general and how they play with them.
Yes.
I guess we can just get to that switch, the third kind of thread that's woven into this story. It cuts to the past.
Yeah.
I couldn't really tell the decade, like...
I think it was the 80s.
Yeah, 70s, 80s.
It felt like the 80s.
Probably. Yeah, that makes sense, time-wise.
The VHS tape
could
me into the 80s and stuff.
Right. So it's this older gentleman coming out of that house. He's pretty quiet, pretty stoic, kind of seems a little cranky maybe, or just keeps to himself. And he lives in... The neighborhood is...
Seems like white suburbia.
Yes. There you go. Yeah. And it just shows him going to the store. He's getting baby supplies. And then he packs up his car, and then he's lingering and he's watching this woman pack her car up. And then he follows her. Yeah. And you're like, oh, all right, this guy's a creep. Yeah.
But at this point, we're still not sure how it's tying into the story. We're like, why? What was that for?
Yeah, because you already know what's down there, and you're like, okay, well, what's this getting at? And then he follows to her home, and he parks around the corner, throws on a work jumpsuit, which Adam said gave him very much Michael Myers vibes, especially with how the camera was following him. That like POV, and just like one shot just following him walking up to her house and everything from behind. He poses as an electrician, checking out, like they've had some issues. He's checking out to see if everything's working, and basically just he goes in and goes to the bathroom and leaves a window open, and that's all it shows. Then it cuts. Yeah. So you get the idea that he's gonna come back and do something to this woman. Yeah. So not a good guy.
Not a good dude.
And boy, oh boy, do we find out just how bad this guy is.
Yes.
I think looking at how they play with character expectations.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. I'm just going to start with Keith. Okay. His casting was brilliant.
Yes. Yes. Brilliant. The casting was so good.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All the actors in this movie are phenomenal. But Bill Skarsgård. Yeah. I think just the fact that he cast Bill Skarsgård, whether people want to admit it or not, the first thought you're getting when you watch it is Pennywise. And you immediately put all of your expectation that this man is evil onto him with just him opening the door. Yeah. Right? So I did see an interview with Zach Cregger, and he said specifically that Keith's character, he wanted to input every single red flag that a woman could think of in this character to keep the audience on edge and not know what his next move would be for the simple fact of being a red herring. And I think it was done impeccably. Because for one, Bill Skarsgård is huge. He's a big dude. He's tall. He has a very wicked kind of smile without even trying to be. And Bill Skarsgård apparently tried to get a little creepy with the role, and Zach Cregger was like, no, don't do that. We want you to be the opposite of that. Nice. Just be as nice and polite and sweet as you can possibly be. Let the audience put their expectation into what you're going to do. That is brilliant.
Yeah. Because, even though he was coming off as, okay, he's really trying to...
He was just a nice guy.
He was just a nice guy. Turns out, he was a nice guy.
He was a
turns
nice
out,
guy.
not all men.
Yeah, turns out, not all men. But it was... Dude. Yeah, did you find yourself, okay, I found myself, when she took a picture of his ID, I was like, yes, girl. Yes, you take a picture of that ID and keep it in your phone.
Right?
That's so smart. Mm-hmm. Good job.
Yeah.
And
then she doesn't drink the tea he makes her.
Yes, which is another good girl.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he's waiting for her to open the wine, which
that was such the way that he fumbled on his words trying to explain what was going on. The whole time I was like, girl, don't drink it. I don't care what, don't drink it. And she didn't.
And the way she came out of the bathroom after getting ready for bed, and she walks into the kitchen, and he's in the background of the kitchen, out of focus, just waiting. And he looks so eerie with the wine. Scary. But he was just trying to have, just relax and have wine. He was just trying to be polite, and then she still refuses. He's stammering, saying, I noticed you didn't drink the tea. If you want to watch me open the wine, just so, you know it's not tampered. And she's still like, nah. And I was like, nice.
Yeah, I was like, that shit is tampered. Don't touch it. Or when he was talking about how... he was actually involved in the research that she was doing.
I was like, that's too convenient. Are you kidding? No. This is how he gets your guard down.
I was like, no. He either lied on the spot because he was familiar with it, or he's been stalking this girl. Yes, exactly. I was like, Don't let your guard down.
Yeah, dude. So well done. Yeah.
And I think that's I feel like a lot of women are going to relate to this, and it's wild. And it just speaks volumes on the way that, we view interactions with men.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It was very interesting. It was an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Mind you, Keith was deemed as a very threatening dude, and we questioned every single thing he did and his motive. But then we switched gears to Justin Long, who you're just kind of like, oh, it's Justin Long.
Yeah, he's always playing the lovable guy, puppy dog. Yeah.
Or the funny guy who's just really sweet.
Mm-hmm. Usually a victim.
Yeah, usually. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
He was a piece of shit rapist. Mm-hmm. He was being accused of rape.
Yeah.
You later find out through the film that he admits to it.
Yeah. But he's playing it off, saying, the usual excuses guys.
Well, she was saying yes at first, but then, or she was saying no, but then she was saying yes. It's there's no consent there, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, she felt pressured. Yeah. And throughout, as you get more and more of him on screen, the more narcissistic and just shitty he comes off. Every single thing, he's just worried about him. Even when the people told him he was being accused of this and stuff, he was like, so the pilot's what's gonna happen to me? Blah,
he was just worried about himself.
Yeah, all that. And then
even when he called her, you thought, oh, okay, maybe this character is gonna be a sprinkle of salt's worth, redeeming, and then no, he just turns it back to this pity party, a woe is me thing.
Yeah. And even when he gets to the house, it starts getting integrated into the main storyline. Yeah. And he's seeing things are off, and he finds Tess and Keith's shit.
Yeah.
He's going through it, but he's still being people are fucking squatting in my house. Yeah. This is my property, blah, blah.
And then my favorite part is when he discovers that there's this whole basement underground tunnel system in his home.
This is maybe my favorite comedic moment in a horror film ever.
What this man does is he takes out a piece of measuring tape and he starts measuring the square footage of each room that he goes into deeper and deeper in hopes that it will have more resale value.
Yeah. And the way he just looks it up straight up. Do secret rooms. Yeah. He lists those in square footage. God.
Wild.
And to the point where, he discovers the first room, measures that, and then he discovers the second part where it's a long stairway down to,
continues to measure it.
To this vast underground network, and he's
not even scared for his, like, he's
it's
not
dark
even,
as fuck.
Yeah, he's absolutely no fear for his life, nothing. He just has his flashlight, and he's determined to get his money's worth out of this property.
Like, the first room, which you see Tess go into, and is immediately horrified by what she sees is the camera and the bed in there and, like, a bloody handprint on the wall.
He literally sits on the bed.
He sits on the bed, and he's just looking at the walls like, okay, yeah, this blah, blah, blah.
He
moves
didn't
the
even
bed.
notice the camera.
It's so good. It's so fucking
It's
good.
brilliant. And I think Justin Long did a great job portraying this piece of shit character. Like, no one would have known this sweet little puppy dog Justin Long, but played such a menacing, awful character.
Yeah. And eventually he
meets his own.
And he encounters
the mother, which is what the character is called. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's called the mother.
The mother. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I quite frankly feel like it was a little bit of justice returned, because let's be honest, Justin Long was kind of raped in that scene with the mother.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, you defiled someone else, and now you're kind of getting the taste of your own medicine.
Right.
Figuratively or literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we can get into how the mother creature, you start getting the sense that she just wants to have a baby. That's like, she's obsessed with.
Or should we? So, in order to explain these scenes, we're going to kind of have to get into this character, the mother.
Yeah.
So, the mother is a product of horrible abuse and incest.
Generations of incest.
So, the mother is a character that's derived from the man in the basement that we later are introduced to.
Yeah.
Essentially, he has been capturing women for decades and has been, major trigger warning here, guys. Yes. He has been raping women. These women have been giving birth, and then he's been raping his children. Yeah. And then this whole cycle has just been continuous.
Yeah. And there's several videotapes. That's what the camera is for.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, the mother is a product of this man's vile kind of just infliction on these people. Yeah. So she is disfigured because of what we're led to believe it's incest. Yeah. She has not known any kindness. She's not seen really the light of day. She kind of travels around in the darkness. Yeah. She has a very twisted kind of view of the world around her, and based on, I think, what she's been witness to, what's been done to her, and what she's been viewing, the videotape, all that the mother wants is a child to kind of rear as her own for comfort in this kind of horrid underground dwelling. Yeah. And so she happens upon these people that are just adventuring into her home, and so she's been capturing them slowly to be her baby. Yeah, but if they show defiance or, like not wanting to be a part. And, I mean, that could be just literal, just fear. Of her. Yeah, and running away. She has killed them, and I think Keith was the first example. Yeah. Because I'm assuming he ran away from her. Yeah.
Tess catches on more.
Yes.
She's more
observant and in tune to what's going on.
And then, so we see she's still alive, but she's in a pit, being held captive. And Justin falls in the same pit. Yeah. His character's name is AJ. And so they're together, and then you start seeing the little, what she does and what she kind of wants out of it. And Tess is trying to get him, no, you have to act like you're her baby. And she lowers the most gross looking bottle of milk that has this old school huge ass nipple that has hair on it, and you're supposed to drink from it, and she drinks from it, and then she's
shoving it in AJ's face,
and he's no, stubborn ass
using.
Yeah. just always looking out for his self-preservation.
Yeah.
Even though it's
a life or death situation.
And so she drags him out and then tries to actually breastfeed him.
Yeah. And this is what I kind of presumed as Justin Long's kind of rape. Yeah. Because she's force feeding him. Right. And that doesn't go so well for him.
The way that Tess scoots, because Tess gets out of the pit when she's like busy with him, and the way she scoots by the door, she's like, oh,
yeah, this is my
out. Which, she eventually does get out, and she wants to save him. She wants to go back and save him, which, we're obviously like, what are you doing?
But I think this is a very kind of interesting notion on, like, how women are kind of taught and raised to be.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like being more emotionally in tune, being kind of caretakers, and being kind of that person that's like, just... what is the word? I can't think of, but you guys kind of get what we're saying, that they're just like, she's not going to leave a life behind, whether he's a complete piece of shit or not. And it's a person. Yeah.
Which adds all the more to the idea of the men being like,
barbaric. Yeah.
Cause
then we can you'll find out why she should not have made that decision.
Yeah. So she does save Justin.
Yes.
They get out. They kind of get into some temporary like safety with this homeless man in the area who knows all about what's going on and had tried to help her earlier.
Earlier in the movie, she had gone to her interview and is returning back to the home. And as she is getting out of her car and walking towards the Airbnb, she sees a homeless man running towards her. And this was after her interview. And the woman that she was interviewing with had stated to her how dangerous that area was that she was staying in. And she brushed it off and she was like, oh, I can hold my own. But that ruminating in her mind, and then she's stepping out of a car and sees this man charging at her. Yeah. She went into full-on panic mode. She tries so hard to get into the home and get away from him. She tries calling the cops. The cops won't even come out to that neighborhood. So she's a little freaked out. Well, come to find out, that man was actually trying to help her and warn her from coming into this home. Because he knows what goes on in there.
Yeah, so when they kind of come to where he stays and it seems safe and everything, and then Justin had accidentally shot Tess. Yeah. And so she was wounded because, he just thought it was the monster. Yeah. Or the mother. Not the monster. No, just kidding. And so he's like, we gotta get her help, she came back for me kind of thing. Yeah. Like, we gotta get her help. I feel bad. And then he has this... It's like comedic, but like serious moment of where he's reflecting on himself. Yeah. And he's like, I've done horrible things. Maybe I'm a bad person, or maybe I'm a good person who's just done a bad thing. And it's like kind of deep.
Yeah. And then as an audience member, you're like, okay. Oh, okay. Well,
maybe he can redeem himself.
Yeah. He went through just like a really traumatic kind of thing with this other person, and maybe this is kind of making him change his outlook on what's going on in his own life.
Yeah.
But then,
bam. The mother comes tearing through the wall, fucks up the homeless man gruesomely, which it was a perfect cue when
this scene was so just like, I could not believe the brutality of it. Yes. The mother rips off this homeless man's arm and beats him to death with his own severed arm.
Now that's barbarian. A barbarian?
Yeah. I was just like, God damn.
The cue on when she came in was great too, because he was like, I've been living here for years. Yeah. There's nowhere more safe.
Yeah.
Cue.
Boom.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. And then so they flee her again. They go up this water tower. And
as they're running up, mind you, Justin Long is running ahead of Tess.
Oh, yeah.
Or, AJ is running ahead of Tess.
Right away.
And Tess is like shot and she's limping and she's like, wait for me. And he's just, nope. Just keeps going up. So you're like, oh, well, I guess there goes that redeeming quality in him.
Yeah. And then, like, he's, like, kind of calculating the situation because the mother's coming up after. And, he...
Oh, man. This man.
He says... Does he say sorry? I don't know. But anyway, he throws her off the water tower as the mother comes up.
The mother leaps off after Tess and kind of breaks Tess's fall.
Yeah. That, the motherly instinct.
Yeah.
But it was just like a beautiful swan dive.
Oh my god.
It was incredible.
We were cracking up so hard because it was meant, I think it was meant to be kind of comedic.
Oh yeah, it was great. And she totally breaks the fall and saves Tess.
Yeah.
And
that's when AJ comes running down and goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry.
I had to." He's still, just
playing victim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you think the mother's dead.
Yeah.
And then boom, she comes
right
back up and finally serves Justin his due. All the action in this, all the kills.
Yeah. I think it was very interesting too that when Tess ran to the police department to let them know that there was a man trapped in the basement, that they all wrote her off as a crackhead.
Yeah.
They literally thought she was on drugs.
Well, especially in that area, so it's playing on the, like, how cops don't care about these impoverished neighborhoods. Because there's, like, a really good reveal. I love the shot when she wakes up. It was, like, after her first night, and she leaves, and you see what the neighborhood is, because before it was pitch black.
It was wild.
Yeah.
Like, the only nice-looking home was that home, and the rest was just sadly trashed.
Yeah, just completely
with
abandoned.
Skeleton of homes with graffiti everywhere, and there was not a soul in sight.
Yeah.
There was not even lights to light up that neighborhood. That's why it was so pitch black in the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which also kind of... You're thinking, okay, why is this house the only one?
Yeah, which adds to the kind of what is going on here.
Which we do later find out that Justin Long owns this house because he has a couple properties
in Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he didn't know the system going down. Man. Oh, when we get to the reveal of, like, the dad and what he actually turns out to be, was also horrifying. Not only finding out what he's been doing, but, like, when it's Justin, AJ, who discovers him. Yeah. And he was running away from the mother. Yeah. And you just get this super tense scene of, like, him running in the pathways just in dark, and he has the flashlight, and you hear the mother's noises, like, in the distance kind of coming. And it's just like, oh my god. And he finds another door that has, like, a bell, like... triggered to it, and when he's debating on going through that door, you see the mother slowly coming out of the darkness towards Justin, very slowly, and then she sees that he's at this door, and she
just starts to slowly retreat back into the darkness.
Which that shot was so creepy. It was great, and
I feel like as a cue for the audience too. You've seen the mother be such a threatening character that if this character is backing away from a room, you know serious shit is in that room.
Yeah. And I was just like, what the fuck is in there?
And it made me think of the comment that the homeless man made, where he's like, that woman is not the only thing you should be afraid of in that house. Yeah. And I feel like at that moment, I was thinking that there was going to be some bigger, badder beast in the house that was just going to chase him around and be, like, kind of menacing. Yeah. And when we learned that this is what it was, I feel like it was 10 times more menacing, but it didn't have to be a monster.
Yeah, I mean, he's old as shit. He's pretty decrepit. Just
bedridden.
Yeah. and then Justin finds out, like, he sees the tapes. He plays the tape.
Walls of tapes.
Yeah, and he plays one, and then you see what he's done. And he's like...
He's even horrified.
And he's like, you're sick. Like, how could you, how could you do that? Or whatever. Which, is interesting because...
Ironic.
Yeah, it's ironic. Because, Justin is a rapist. Sorry, AJ, not Justin.
Yeah, Justin, you're not a rapist, I'm sorry. And then this man, instead of, he sees that Justin has viewed this and he makes a remark to him, and he's been digging around in a drawer this whole time.
Yeah.
And he pulls out a gun, and we think it's going to be to hurt Justin so he can keep doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
But then the man turns the gun on himself and shoots himself. And I think that says a lot that he would rather just end things than face up to what he's done and what he's created.
Yeah. Which is similar to kind of Justin's, like, running away from his problem.
Yeah.
Not wanting to face it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Yeah. And I love, like, Chris and I were talking about this too. We love that they didn't explicitly show what was on the films.
Yes.
Thankfully, because
Very
I think that would have
tactful.
been too much and it would have taken away from what was going on, because we already know how awful this is. And I think just showing it would have been gratuitous, and I'm glad they didn't. Yeah, this movie, Barbarian.
Yeah, what a ride.
What a ride.
Well, I just had the thought right after watching that I was just like, this is a movie that knows exactly what it is and doesn't pretend to be anything else.
100%.
Crazy with the comedic moments, with the silliness during a horrifying or crazy shot, like with the swan dive, where you're laughing, but it's also like, holy shit, this is happening. And just to add to that, the music cues and like some technical stuff.
Yes.
Music was great and sound was great.
Yeah.
There's certain moments where it's like when Tess finds the room, first finds the hidden doorway to the underground area, and she's debating going in it, and you're like, no, you're smarter than that. Come on.
Everyone in the audience is like internally being like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. And it had this great shot that kind of just slowly pulled back, and it looked so cinematic of her just standing there, kind of like just freaked out and debating. And then when she takes her first step in, music comes in, and it's like that doom. Kind of menacing. Yeah, menacing. Yeah. And it's like, it calls attention. It calls the viewer's attention to that music cue where it's like, okay, something bad's gonna happen. Yeah. She's about to change. Like, her life's about to change.
But I love how it was so intricate, but honestly still subtle. Yeah. So it was subtle enough to where the music wasn't creating the scare, but it was amplifying it, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Keeping kind of on the same note of the score, there were a lot of times where the music would eventually turn into a heartbeat.
Oh my god, yeah.
Which was so smart. And I found that in that kind of whatever was going on screen, that your heart rate was
absolutely
matching the heart rate that you were listening, because it was a very anxiety-ridden moment.
Yeah. I was gripping. I was like... I had my hands on my head and I was just gripping, and I haven't had that experience with a horror movie in a while. Yeah, where it's just like, oh my god,
we were talking about that on the way home from the film. We were just like, we can't remember, like, and we both kind of said Hereditary was the last film to make us that kind of anxious and worried and just like, the whole time through.
And the last one to have like a sound. Design, a particular sound really kind of freak us out.
Oh my god. Okay.
So like similar to the tongue click in Hereditary.
The clicking, yes. The scene that was super effective that kind of matched that was when Tess was sleeping in her room and the door creaks open. Yeah. And now knowing that it was probably the mother that was sneaking into her room, made this sound that was just, we both grabbed each other
Dude.
all wide-eyed, like, no, not another sound.
Can you describe it? Can you do an impression?
I can't. Can you?
I'm trying to remember how it was because it was so specific.
It was so specific.
It was a little like
it's like a
gurgly,
gurgle. Like, it was so creepy.
just like
I can't.
monstery. Whereas like that's the first indication where you're like, there's a thing in here.
I just remember at that point thinking it was something inhuman. Like, I didn't think it was a person. I was like, where is this going?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I was like, maybe Bill Skarsgård's possessed by the devil.
I know.
It was, wild ride.
No, that's not it.
No, that sounds like a bleeding goat.
No. I just can't do it. That's how great it was.
Yeah,
it's
it was
just
fantastic. So we must give credit to the actor that played the mother.
I know.
It was a giant 7-foot-tall man. Is Matthew Patrick Davis. He was decked out head to toe in makeup. I think it would have been cool if it was actually a female in the costume, but considering it was so tall and it was so menacing, like, I get it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's dope.
Great job. Great job. Just the body movements.
Yeah. It reminded me of in Wreck.
Yes.
That specific.
Yes. So I immediately was like, this felt like it had a lot of rainy kind of Evil Dead-ish almost influence to it. Come to find out, again, while watching that Q&A, Zach Cregger did say that he took a lot of influence from Sam Raimi.
Nice.
And he took a lot of influence from the film Audition.
Oh.
Which I thought was incredibly interesting.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
What a fucking debut for him.
I know.
For like a horror film. Which we have learned that he is already working on another horror film. And hell yes.
Totally down. I want to say at this point, anything he makes, I'm down to check out.
I just was so surprised
Yeah.
on how gripping and frightening this movie was. Intense.
I think we were both kind of taken aback by that.
Yeah. Just straight up, like we were saying, it's just straight up horror.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen a lot of psychological.
And I mean, I do think this film had a little bit of subtext in it, but it wasn't like you were searching to find that out, and it was a lot deeper. Yeah. Like deep. You had to go just as far down as this movie went to like figure out what that was. I think it was pretty clear.
Not super abstract.
Yeah.
It was just like
just in your face. Straight horror. Going back to again comments that Cregger made during his Q&A.
Yeah.
So apparently he was going to take the scene with Justin Long and the mother even further than what he had already done. So he was initially like, Justin Long refuses the bottle, so she takes him into a room and breastfeeds him, right? So when he was refusing the teat, essentially, what she does is she grabs a rat and pulls its head off and starts masticating the rat and feeds him like a baby bird.
Oh my gosh.
But in order to do that, he was saying that the camera would have had to be like in her face. And he didn't want to give away so much detail on the mother, so he decided to kind of shy away from that scene, and they ended up cutting it.
Damn.
But I was like,
gnarly.
That would have been a gnarly visual.
Yeah, that sure takes it further.
I don't know if I could have unseen that.
Extras, DVD extras.
Yeah.
Please.
Please, deleted scenes.
Like, maybe you could do, maybe it's hard to do, but like just of her bottom half.
Yeah.
Like just the mouth.
That just sounds gnarly.
Oh, dude. Gnarly.
Oh my god.
Great ideas.
I know, right? Okay, another thing that was brought up that he kind of, Cregger giggled about, was that he didn't realize it until after he wrote the story, but Barbarian is an anagram for Airbnb.
Oh,
God damn.
Really, really cool,
wow, that
right?
really pairs together well.
And then he was also saying that when he was writing this, he just kind of, and I think that's kind of why this movie is broken up into chunks, because that's how he kind of wrote it. He initially wrote this film to be a 40-minute short. So it was just where Tess had the whole interaction with Keith, and then she goes down into the basement, and then that was going to be it. But then he thought, since he wasn't having to write this for anyone, he was just writing it for himself and for fun, he kept adding to it.
Damn.
And as he was adding to it, it became what is now Barbarian.
Wow.
He wrote this movie a year ago, and it took him about a year to get somebody to finally pick it up and decide that let's go ahead and let's do it. He got a lot of no's, but he finally got a yes.
God bless him.
I know. Thank you,
Satan bless
producers.
Wow.
And last but finally, I thought it was interesting because I kind of made this comparison where as soon as we walked out of the theater, I was like, this movie is fantastic, but I can't really nail what this movie is, and I think it's just as batshit as Malignant.
Yeah.
So somebody brought that up in a Q&A, and he just went, I'm not going to comment on that. So I don't know what that means, but yeah, interesting.
But yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment.
I mean,
I got that same effect.
Yeah. I think, no offense to Malignant lovers or, you know, oh my god, why am I blinking on
James
his
Wan?
name? Yeah, James Wan. But I do think they're definitely very different movies. I think Malignant relies more heavily on its B-rated kind of humor, whereas this one, I don't feel like holds an ounce of B-rated nature to it. I think the characters are just kind of humorous for humorous sake.
I don't even get that feeling of it relied on a certain thing. It was just like, I don't know.
It just was.
Yeah, it just was.
Yeah.
And it just worked.
Yeah, it worked. But yeah, but I just want to emphasize when I say Malignant as a comparison, just the batshit craziness of the movies.
Yeah. Maligma.
Yeah. When watching Malignant, that's not where I saw the movie going, and while watching Barbarian, that's not where I saw the movie going. So they were both very interesting kind of rides, and I think that's where they hold the similarity for me.
Yeah. I gotta say, this may be my favorite horror release. It's between this and X. It's maybe it, though.
Honestly,
of the year.
I think this is my favorite horror release of the year. It's gonna take a lot to top this one.
Yeah, the more it sits with me, too.
I
Fuck yeah.
still love X.
Yeah.
But I think this one just goes a little more. It's just a little more for me.
Yeah.
A little bit more. But X is a close second for sure.
And I think for me too, this one may have an edge, more impact on me because of the subtext.
Yes.
Which is it's not even really subtle, you know?
Yeah,
it's
not at all.
But like, yeah. Maybe as a woman, I don't know.
It just relates harder.
But but you still get that straight up horror craziness.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. I will say that too. This is my number one horror film of the year so far.
Which is it's just so astounding, like for his directorial debut or like horror directorial debut. That's awesome.
I will say that the only other more recent filmmakers that I feel whatever they put out I'm willing to watch is Ari Aster. And I think this is going to be my next one, where whatever this man puts out, I'm down to check it out.
Yeah.
So hell yeah. Big win for Barbarian, man.
Definitely.
I would undoubtedly give this 5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah. I want this on Blu-ray.
I want this on Blu-ray. I want the collector's edition. I want it all.
Poster.
I want yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want a doll of the mother.
No, thank you. You can keep that.
With them titties hanging out.
That poor lady.
I know, for real
Poor
though.
thing.
Like,
yeah.
I really had empathy for her. Oh my god, I forgot one of the best parts.
What?
Boop.
Oh my god.
God damn.
The mother.
Just little things like that.
Flat out boops. Justin Long.
The perfect person to boop to.
Yes.
Especially
just
with this character.
A finger to the nose, and she literally just goes boop.
With her long ass nails,
Yeah.
like gnarly. Oh my god.
I love it.
Right? I think maybe that moment really added to like
The relief and the fun.
The relief and the fun, like this knows what it is.
Yeah.
You know?
It very much leans into the humor, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
I sidetracked off of the initial thought I was going for, but I did like you really get a sense of empathy for the mother, which is shown as very monstrous, but then when you realize like she's not the monster,
that she's a product of violence.
Yeah, and how caring she was for Tess.
I know.
Oh my god.
But I think that's also incredibly insightful that she was so vicious with AJ because he's a man.
Yeah.
And men have kind of been terrible to her.
Yeah.
But the one female character, which is Tess, she was very kind to. And
she has that intuitive, I need to go along with this. Nature versus nurture, perhaps.
Maybe.
With
that being said,
I guess we'll get to
the final cuts.
Our final cuts. We're starting a new little segment of just where we kind of decide on some favorite aspects of the movie, of a new movie. So, first final cut.
Yes.
Did you have a favorite shot? Technical shot. Or just one that stood out to you?
Honestly, I feel like in order to come up with a favorite final shot, I may have to watch it again.
That's true.
Because I feel like there was so much going on and like my eyes were just hungry for all of it that I can't really think of a specific moment at the time to be like, yes, this cut was it.
Right. Yeah, I would say it's hard to make a decision right now as a decidedly favorite shot. A couple that stood out to me.
Yes.
I really like the shot of when Tess falls off the water tower. It kind of reminded me of, maybe a lot of people haven't seen this, but in Trainspotting 2, there's a part where Spud falls off a building. He doesn't actually, it's like, they express it, but it's just when he's high, it has that feeling.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like the camera stays the same distance and it follows with them, him. But the ground's like coming up closer. Yeah. I don't know, it's just like they look frozen in time, but they're moving. Yeah. I don't know. It's cool.
I hear you. It is cool.
I like the shot that was kind of Evil Dead-ish of when she wakes up. It like flashes to daytime. Yeah. And that cut to daytime, and the camera makes this jerky pullback. Yeah. That's very awkward, but it's like, it really, that jerk nighttime to daytime, and she went through like a creepy encounter, and now it's like bam, and then you're like, oh, she's awake, or she's okay and she's in bed.
I agree. That was a really cool shot. I would say more for me, maybe not opposed to a shot, but my favorite cut was just the initial cut from Act 1 to Act 2. Yes. That just floored me because there have been very few films that can kind of do that kind of dramatic cut and have substantial effect. Yeah. And so that, I feel like, was really noteworthy for me.
There we go. And I agree. That may have been my favorite, editing. I do really like, I had mentioned it earlier, the shot of her debating on going down into the secret room, and it just pulls back slowly, and you just see her framed in the door with the darkness behind her and looking like, all right, and knowing that oh, this is where it turns, and then I do really like that the lens they use for the dad's sequence where it shows in the 80s and following him.
We had this discussion last night after viewing the movie that whatever lens they used was beautiful.
Yeah, it was super wide.
It was super wide, but things also felt very cramped and close together. Yeah. But then there was also a texture to it. Yeah. That was really kind of interesting. I just, Yeah, I really want to find out what lens they
yeah.
shot this on.
Yeah, it gave a little bit of a fisheye effect.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
And I think maybe that's why things felt a little
Yeah,
cramped.
the depth was like
there was
manipulated.
there was not a lot. But there was at the same time. I don't know. It was very interesting.
Yeah. And just having the dad and it following the dad, it's centered in the frame the whole time while he's like...
You were saying it was very Halloween.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, it was yeah.
There were also one of the cool shots that I picked out specifically was a scene where I think it was AJ or was it Keith? I can't remember. Where it was the POV and he was, I think it was AJ. He was holding the gun in one hand and the flashlight in the other hand. And all you see are his arms and the camera is moving with the direction that he's turning. And it just felt very video game.
Yeah.
And it was kind of great. It was very cool.
And you, like, it would be a cool video game, actually.
It would be. Just run away from
those
mother.
tunnels, yeah. So, favorite scare?
Oh, okay. This is a good one. My favorite scare would probably be the first scare of the movie. The reveal. When I was watching the film, I was so focused on the arguing between Keith and Tess. And then I was also trying to scan everything else around. And I was still at this point kind of convinced that Keith was the villain in the film.
Yeah.
And that he was going to do something to her, like pull a knife out or stab her or pull a gun out of nowhere or coax her into a room and lock her up. So my brain was trying to figure out exactly what he had to do with this. And then out of nowhere, the mother comes barreling in. And my brain could not handle what I was seeing.
Yeah.
I lost it. Carissa and I grabbed each other. I jumped out of my seat.
Flailing.
I was flailing. And then the roar that she let, I was not prepared for that.
Just the way it interrupts that high tension scene. Yeah, it totally takes you off guard.
Yeah.
That would have to be my favorite scare as well.
And there was, again, no music cue, no lead up to it that conventional horror movies kind of lean on to kind of guide you toward this is going to be a scare. Like you were mentioning, there was no swell of music. There was nothing.
Yeah.
Other than what was going on between these two characters. And yes, it was a high anxiety moment. And so you knew something bad was going to happen, but that was the farthest thing that I was expecting.
Yeah.
So that was incredibly effective for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. One of my favorite scares in a long time.
Yes. Yes. It was brilliant. It was very well crafted. Yeah. My hats to them.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That was really, really good.
Next would be your favorite performance.
You want to go first?
Sure. Mine would have to be Justin Long.
Okay.
I would say from my preconceived notions of him as an actor and his characters before, just made him all the more effective and just different and really overcame my expectations.
Yeah.
And he was just so funny. The comedic parts were so well done.
So good.
And he delivered it just so well, but also in the terrifying parts and his character overall is just...
It really drove home that it wasn't Justin Long, he was his character.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to double down on your kind of thought process, but not with Justin Long.
Yeah.
But instead with Bill Skarsgård for me.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
I think that we all had this preconceived notion that Bill Skarsgård, he plays Pennywise, he's it. So while we kind of saw him as threatening and menacing throughout the whole movie, the guy was completely innocent.
Yeah.
And I think that was great because we were in his performance trying to find reasons to be afraid of him or dislike him or anything. And the whole time he was just playing this charming dude and just being himself. Yeah. And I really, really enjoyed that kind of play.
The manipulation of trust from the filmmaker's intention.
Yes.
It's just so well done. Because,
it was great.
He just turns out to be a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I think that was showcased in one of my favorite scenes where they're sitting at the table discussing over the red wine.
Yeah.
Like, you just really see his character kind of come to life, and you're just consistently second guessing his motives.
Yeah.
But he's not what we think he is. And I think Bill Skarsgård did an amazing job at that.
He did.
But again, not to downplay Campbell in this role, the woman who played Tess. She acted her goddamn ass off.
Yeah.
And she was phenomenal. But there was no play with her character. She just kind of was who we were expecting her to be.
Yeah.
And so, in that sense, I think the kind of subversion of Justin Long or Bill Skarsgård kind of hit home with us a little bit more.
Man, Campbell's as final girls.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
then,
well done.
yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite scene in particular?
I'm going to go back to, again, the moment where they're sitting at the table with the wine.
Nice.
Not only does I feel like it showcase Bill Skarsgård's kind of acting, but again, I think that was kind of the head of the movie where you knew things were going to go bad.
Yeah.
Where you were just kind of anticipating the worst.
Right.
In the beginning of that scene, at least. And then when she lets her guard down a little bit when they connect over having shared interests, I think deep down, at least for me, I was like, oh girl, don't. He's trying to build trust with you. Something's going to go bad. So there was always like a layer of fear in her encounters with Keith. Yeah. And I thought it was kind of a brilliant way of trying to put the audience's guards down while he's also trying to, like, quote unquote work on her guard in a sense. And that was very, very, very well put. And I think it leads into my other top kind of tied favorite scene, which was her sleeping with the door creaking open, because she's already kind of let her guard down. She's not suspicious of Bill or of Keith anymore. And then she hears footsteps and a weird sound in her bedroom. So she immediately goes back to being like, what is this dude about?
Yeah,
so
well said.
I just thought it was just a very interesting play on characters and power and fear and anxiety. So I love that scene.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go back to, it kind of goes in line with the scare, the reveal might have been my favorite scene. I'm trying to think. I mean, just, there were so many great scenes.
Yeah. It's hard to pick just one.
It's hard. Yeah, it warrants a rewatch, obviously.
Absolutely.
Which, again, we've talked about how you won't have that same experience, but
Yes.
just to figure these things out, these little personal opinions.
Yes.
But, I guess that concludes our final cuts. And I'll just say again that this movie knows exactly what it is and doesn't try to be anything different. And I would be disappointed. Again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I would be disappointed if people just didn't get, what it is or what they're doing and, think it's like a bit silly or just not scary enough. I'm like, bro, this is straight up like horror. It was such a ride. I just loved everything about it. Everything it delivered totally worked for me. I just can't wait for it to be on Blu-ray.
Yes, special edition, Blu-ray, director's cut, all of it. Gimme. I can't wait to like you were saying, rock a poster, but rock a cool Barbarian t-shirt. I'm here for all of it. Yes. I'm your ideal film goer in this sense. I will buy all of your merch.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about this before, but just if you would think that people would have the same experience if watching it at home.
Yes.
And not having watched it in the theaters.
I don't know if it would be nearly as effective at home as it was in theaters, just because for one, just the viewing experience, big screen, big sound, I think it's needed, but also at the same time, like you were saying, I think you could get that kind of same feeling at home, but again, you would have to disconnect and be able to just focus on it.
Yeah. Lights down. Yeah. No one around.
Yeah.
Hustling and bustling in the house.
I think just the one thing this movie has at fault is, like, you can't view it the same way again after seeing it for the first time. So do yourself a favor, don't spoil anything for yourself. Don't listen to this fucking episode until you've seen the movie.
At the end of the episode.
Yes.
No, we gave you a spoiler warning.
We did. We did. And if you got this far without having seen the movie, that's your own fucking fault.
Sorry. But not sorry.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to see what this director has in store for us.
I know.
Okay, I have a really interesting question for you. Last and final word on this movie before we close out.
Yeah.
If you were to throw this movie into any horror subgenre, what would you put it in? I'll be straight up right now. I thought about this a lot after last night.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I could put it in a specific subgenre because it takes from a lot of different movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a lot of different movies, excuse me. Let me reword that. It takes from a lot of different elements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so
hard.
I feel like,
I don't think I could
because I couldn't put it in a monster movie.
Yeah.
I couldn't put it in, like, gore and splatter. I couldn't put it in psychological. Yeah. It's not giallo.
Yeah.
Like, what is this movie? It's just great.
It's just... boop.
But yeah, think about that. And if you guys have any ideas, please let us know. Because I would love to be able to kind of like mentally categorize this film.
Yeah.
If not, know where to put it in my own collection.
Yeah. You know what time it is.
I think you do. I think it's time for us to... I'll be right back!